Remember when we first met?
Yeah.
I told you I'm never getting married.
Yes.
Completely against marriages. I believe in marriage, and the reason my opinion on marriage is basically don't get married.
A few moments later.
So welcome to another episode of Paul's Asian Adventure. As you saw from the montage starting here, I've always been against marriage, and yet I'm married. And stick to the end to find out exactly why I got married. Before I start this, I wanted to talk a bit about marriage and being single and the advantages and disadvantages of each, just to quickly summarize. Of course, as we know, marriage is a contract written by or signed by yourself and your wife or wife-to-be, and is enforced by whatever government, wherever you're married. These, of course, have implications both for the husband and the wife. Typically in the West, very negative implications for the husband. And even in the East, there can be, when I'm talking about the East, Southeast Asia, Philippines, Thailand, and so on, there can be negative implications for the husband. So that's a big minus, that you have a contract with a person. Typically, you as a man have more resources and contribute more to a marriage in that context. You're bringing provision and protection to a woman, and she might be bringing her youth and her love and taking care of you. But there's no need to get married for that. That's one area where you will lose, is actually your freedom. When you're not married, you have a lot more freedom. You have freedom to decide things, decide where to go and what to do. If the woman you're with doesn't like it, well, you can just next her. In a marriage, that's not that easy. Another thing you have to remember, and these are all reasons not to get married, and you might say I'm a hypocrite, but I'll get at the end why I got married. Another reason not to get married, of course, is competition anxiety. And what do I mean by that? When you're not married, a woman that's with you is always fearful of losing you if she really cares about you and really loves you. And if she doesn't, what's the point of being with her, right? So that competition anxiety actually creates sexual tension and creates her running after you. Sometimes when people get married, a woman will relax, a man will relax, thinking that, well, I've got him in a box, he's mine now, I don't need to worry. Of course, we know that's not true, because even in the Philippines, people leave each other, even though they're married. In the West, they get divorced all the time. And so there's still a bit of competition anxiety, but nothing like when you're just boyfriend, girlfriend in a long-term relationship. Another advantage of being single is, of course, the financial part. Being single is much cheaper than being married. As a single person, you have only your expenses to take care of, and even if you're in a dedicated relationship with a girlfriend, you might just be paying for her food. That's the only extra expenses you have. Once you get married, there are implications and understandings that will lead to more expenses. In the Philippines, many people will support family members because they love the new family, right? It's not because they have to, it's because you love the new family. You're with your wife, she cares about her siblings, her mother and father, and you as a person, of course, you love your wife and you want to take care of that if you have the possibility, if you have the financial means. So thereby your expenses go up. I don't know of anybody who's been married who says their expenses have gone down. Typically it goes up, and it can go up considerably. So there's a big disadvantage, especially if you're on a tight budget in the Philippines or Thailand or any other country in Southeast Asia. The other disadvantage is, like we talked about in the beginning, is that this is a contract. So if you have a contract, it's a lot harder to disengage from that relationship. It'll cost you a lot more money. If, for example, in the Philippines, and you want to leave the woman you're married with, first of all, typically you have a lot more that are together. You might have bought a house, you might have bought a car, you know, even if you didn't, you're still living together, you have a contract on that house. She has every right to be in that house just as much as you. And then if you decide to leave and you want a divorce, you have to go back to your Western country, whether that's the US, Europe, Australia, wherever, and file for a divorce there. And then that's going to be the plane ticket. It's going to be the time you spend in that country. It's going to be the hassle. It takes a lot. So even though you're not quite happy in that relationship, you might end up staying in it because of the hassle. So it takes a lot more to disengage from a relationship. And of course, if you're that type of person who needs your freedom, that's a big negative as well. And of course, if you just have a girlfriend, it's a lot easier to disengage. You just ask her to leave. If it's your house, you might give her some money, like $200-300, so she can start on her own anew, or $500, whatever you think is right. Depends on how long you've been together, how good she's been to you. That's a different story, but yeah, so it's a lot cheaper to disengage with your girlfriend than it is with a wife. The other thing, as we know from the West, that some women, not all, but some women will actually change once they get married, both physically and emotionally and mentally. They get into a relaxed state, like I said, where they think they basically own you, and they will change their attitude towards you. I call it going from the angel to the devil. They are these little angels when they're a girlfriend, and once you get married, they slowly become the devil. Now, this happens in some relationships. Hasn't happened to me, luckily, in any of my marriages. My first two got dissolved because of other reasons that I won't get into. But I've seen it, I've heard it, and know people who that's happened to. And also, some women change physically in that they stop working out, they start eating more, they don't care about their physical appearance because they have you in a box. At least they feel that way. They feel more secure in the relationship. They don't feel they have to work hard at the relationship. So, but from a physical way and a mental way, it can be a negative to get married or be in a marriage. So again, having a girlfriend or a living girlfriend wins out compared to being married. The other thing to remember that when you are in a long-term relationship or just have a girlfriend, it's actually a lot easier to lead in that relationship than when you are married. When you have a girlfriend, like we talked about, it can be easier to next her than if you have a wife. A wife is more secure in the relationship, so she might decide that she wants to lead or she wants to do certain things, and arguing against her might not work because she's in that relationship and you're not going anywhere. But if you have a girlfriend or long-term living girlfriend, she knows very well that if she goes against you, you might ask her to leave because you have choices. And she knows that. So leading in a marriage is much harder than leading in a boyfriend-girlfriend relationship, long-term living relationship, and so on. So again, marriage loses out, marriage is a negative. So I'm sure at this point you're asking yourself, why the hell did you get married, Mr. Paul? And that is a good question. And that is what I'm going to cover next. So what are the advantages of getting married when you're in the Philippines? For me, I have really only two reasons, well, call it three reasons to get married. My biggest reason for getting married, besides dearly loving my wife, but I would have stayed with her anyway, and I believe she would have stayed with me no matter what, so marriage wasn't really necessary. But as you have followed my channel know, I'm an engineer and I've worked in several countries and I travel. So with that, to bring my wife to these other countries or bring my girlfriend to these other countries would have been an impossibility. And living 2 years in Saudi or 2 years in the US, without her, I know we would have drifted apart. So I wanted to secure the relationship in the manner that I could bring her with me. Now, to be honest, if I could bring her with me without getting married, I probably would have chosen that. But then, and here comes the big one, I believe in family. I believe in conservative values, meaning that if you're going to have kids, I believe in marriage. Why? Because, as we talked about, marriage is a contract, and marriage makes people more secure in that relationship. Now, it doesn't always work, and as in the West, there's a 60% divorce rate now. But living in the Philippines, being married and having kids, and this is our plan. I know that's a big one, but we plan to have kids. And after meeting Mia and before getting married, we had a long discussion, and I told her I wanted to have kids, and that's one of the reasons I was getting married. I believe in having a mother and a father in a relationship. I grew up in a divorced family from I was 11, and it had a very negative effect on me. I could have been much further in life, I believe, than what I am if my mom and dad had stayed together. I do not want that for my kids. I want my kids to have a mother and a father. And if we are blessed by having kids, even so, those are the reasons why I got married. And the third reason, of course, and the most important reason, is that I love my wife to death. And I was with her for many years before getting married. I've seen her character. I've seen how hard she works, how smart she is. I've seen her go to school and working every night hard, even though she doesn't have to. I've told her, if you don't want to go to school, you don't have to. You can just stay at home. But she's a hard worker. And even when she's not going to work, she's making food, cleaning the house, taking care of stuff, making appointments. Like my personal secretary, I tell her I need to pay you for all the hard work you do, but she says we're a family now. And yeah, she's a really good girl in so many ways. Our humor aligns. We're always laughing. If you could just see us at home, we're always joking, laughing, having fun. I've been with many girls in my life. I really have. And I've seen many good sides of many girls and many bad sides. And I've never met anybody quite the same as my current wife. And hopefully my last wife. For sure my last wife, because after this I'm not ever getting married again. Hopefully we'll be together for the rest of our lives and have a great family. And so with that, I hope you've come to an understanding why, even though I'm against marriage, I'm getting married. Most people coming to the Philippines don't want kids, and are planning to stay in the Philippines the rest of their lives, not moving anywhere. We're back in the Philippines. Well, right now we're in Thailand, but we're going back to the Philippines. So I would still say marriage is a bad deal for most men, probably 90+% of all men. I would say don't do it, especially being in the West. Don't do it with alimony and all that stuff, and the courts against you. I would say don't do it. I know I sound kind of hypocritical, but I've given you my reasons why I got married, and hopefully my dreams come to fruition and we end up having a family. So with that, I hope you enjoyed this video and you have a better understanding of why I made the choices that I made, because I've gotten a lot of questions and a lot of comments on my other videos about that. But hopefully you understand now, and hopefully I'll see you on the next one. Take care, and don't forget, sharing is good. Sharing my videos is the best.